So, hello everybody. Today we're going to hear how the emperor was cursed. It's a very interesting story. And it goes like this. Once while the emperor was hunting in the forest, he became exhausted and extremely thirsty. So some people might get a little bit alarmed that why is this exalted guy hunting? Kitty says she likes when I schedule the videos. Usually I'm more schedule oriented, but with the coronavirus effect on the lockdown and all that stuff, there's less of a schedule going on. But it's usually around this time, and it's weekdays. My weekdays. All right, so back to this. Why is an emperor who's an exalted person hunting? The modern concept of vegetarianism or veganism doesn't really include hunting. But as I said, the violence is an important part of society when it's directed against the violent. So just like Parikshit had to, was going to kill Kali because Kali was hurting other people. The principle, that's the principle of the Ardra Nakshatra, is that anger and force and violence has to be used against those who are angry and violent on those who are innocent. So anger and stuff has to be used on the guilty, not on the innocent. Now, how does that come to do with hunting? When the kings would hunt, they would not hunt deer. They wouldn't hunt rabbits and squirrels and herbivorous animals called mriga. This is also why Ardra protects mrigashirsha. Mriga means the vegetarian animal, the herbivore, the deers, the squirrels and stuff like that. They would hunt the lions and all the different types of carnivores, the dangerous animals that were threats. So just as the king, the emperor, whatever, would go around and hunt for bandits and stuff like that, they would also go around and hunt for tigers and lions to make sure they keep that population away from the human settlements. So while he was doing that, he became exhausted and extremely thirsty. So he went to search for a pool, someplace to drink from, someplace with drinkable water. And he stumbled, as he was searching, upon an ashram. Ashram is a place, actually it kind of means where you rest, where you sleep, or it means where you don't rest, where you work. It kind of more means where you work. So it's kind of like a studio. An ashram is like a studio, and the concept of the word studio in English. Places where yogis live are called ashrams, for example, because they do their sadhana, they do their spiritual practice there. It's where they do their work. So he stumbled upon an ashram and he saw a sage peacefully seated with closed eyes. His senses, breathing, emotions, and thoughts were all suspended. He was in an inaccessible spiritual place beyond the three states of consciousness. So the king stumbled onto an ashram and he saw the resident of the ashram there deep in meditation. How is described that he's deep in meditation? His consciousness was inaccessible. It was beyond the three states. The three states are deep sleep, which is like being in a coma or being passed out. Then there's regular sleep, which is where the mind is still active and you're dreaming and having visions and thoughts. And then there's jagra, or alertness, where your mind is connected to the physical senses and you're aware. You're highly aware of the surroundings. Those are the three conventional states. And then the fourth state, called turiya, is beyond those three. It's deeper than deep sleep, but it is not inactive. So the sage was in that place beyond the three consciousness states. And so on the external level, his breathing was suspended. He wasn't breathing. Or he would breathe like on a minimal level. His hair was scattered about in dreadful knots, dreadlocks, and he wore only an animal skin. This is how yogis typically dress. They wear either tree bark or animal skin, and they don't comb their hair. Parikshit's mouth, however, was so dry, he was so thirsty, that he actually tried to interrupt the sage to ask for water. So he comes up to the ashram and he sees this sage wrapped in meditation. But he's so thirsty that he's like, I gotta get this guy's attention, because I need water. I'm dying of thirst over here. Of course, the king received no reply, no welcome whatsoever. Taking it as an insult, he became angry. He couldn't get this guy out of his meditation, and he got insulted and angry about it. This was very unusual for the great king. Never before had he become angry at a sage, but his hunger and thirst had gotten the best of him. So this itself, it's on the template of what omens are. Remember we discussed what omens are a couple of chapters ago. Omens are behavior which is totally atypical, like for the sun to be dark, or for the owls to be out during the day, stuff like that. Atypical behavior. This is an atypical behavior. So it must have been something to do with, it must have been an omen, or it must have been a direct necessity of fate. So he behaved in a very unusual way, that he sort of mistreated a sage. Tried to interrupt him and they got angry at him. But his needs, this is what happens actually when a person's needs are unfulfilled, they become deviant. This is why you have all kinds of violent people and criminals and stuff. It's because their needs were unfulfilled, primarily in their childhood. There's maybe one or two exceptions of people that had ideal childhoods and then still became bad people. I would say 98% of the cases of people that are messed up adults had messed up childhoods. And when your basic needs are satisfied, then you are able to think about other things besides basic needs and try to be moral and all that. So when the king's thirst and hunger were just raging, then he couldn't even remember his basic attitude that sages are special and you shouldn't disrespect them in any way. While storming off, so he tries to get this guy out of his meditation, he couldn't, he's like, "Argh!" And he storms off, and while storming off, he sees a dead snake. And he thinks, "Argh!" He picks up the snake with his bow. He uses his bow to pick up the snake and puts it around the sage's shoulders, which is an ironic insult because usually in that culture you put a necklace of flowers around somebody's shoulders. So in the place of the necklace of flowers, which is a sign of love and respect, he put a dead snake, which is a big insult. He didn't even need to do that, right? It's not going to help him get water or anything, but he's angry. And it says also in the text, on the way home, and this is so real, he said on the way home he debated him, as he's like, all right, I'm just going to go home and get some water. So he stormed off from the sage's ashram, put a snake around his neck, dead snake. And as he was walking home, he was debating with himself. He was debating himself whether the sage was really enwrapped in meditation or if he was just pretending as an excuse to avoid welcoming an undesirable guest. You'll get this, I think I get this, where you get into these little dialogues with yourself when you're angry at somebody. So he was dialoguing with his mind. That guy, he couldn't have been that deep in meditation. That must have been an insult. Who is that deep in meditation that even when you shake him, they won't get out of it? I mean, come on. He must just not have wanted to greet me. What has he got against me? What has that guy got against me? That kind of thoughts was going through his head. Now, end that scene, and we'll go to the next scene. Now let's introduce the sage's son. The sage had a very powerful son. Oh, the children inherit the qualities of the parents. So in those days when they were very powerful parents, the kids became very powerful right away. So the sage's son was also quite powerful. His childish friends came. They came to his house or something. They saw his dad sitting there still in meditation and with a dead snake. And they saw the emperor walking off, and they came to see what happened. And they see the guy's dad with a dead snake around his neck. And then they go and find the kid, and they start making fun of him. They said, "The emperor just put a snake around your dad's neck." So that really disturbed the kids. See, it's actually pride, which is a serious problem here. It's one of the serious problems is the unfulfilled basic needs, and the other serious problem is pride. So the child's pride was greatly injured by the way that the emperor treated his father. And he said, "Oh, just see the immorality of rulers who mistreat their masters, even though they are merely crows or dogs guarding the door." That's what the kid said. So he called the king a crow or a dog. And that's what the friend said. "Are you calling the king a dog?" And the sage's son replied, "What's wrong with that? Warriors are designated as protectors of the philosophers. Why should he come inside our ashram at all and demand food and drink? What makes a guard dog think he can go inside and eat from the master's plate?" So the boy was really pissed off. And he starts bringing out these points, but bringing them out in a very demeaning way. This will also happen. You'll get this all the time when you make people angry who know a little bit of history or whatever. They start to bring out all these points out of context in a very mean way. So the guy's friends, the kid's friends looked at each other. They were kind of shocked. Like, whoa, this guy is insulting the emperor pretty hardcore. He's saying the emperor is a dog. We are the masters. We are the philosophers. We are the intellectuals. The emperor is just a warrior. He's our dog. He should serve us. What is he even doing coming into my father's ashram and wanting water? Will you get water when you get water, boy? So then the sage's son said, "Blessed Krishna, the authority has left us." So even when they're angry, they still mention Krishna. And you'll get this too. When you interact with people that know about Krishna, they'll use Krishna also as part of their club to hit you over the head. "Blessed Krishna, the authority has left us, and now these upstarts have come to power." If this kid actually had any concept of Krishna, he would think this emperor is really close to Krishna. He loves Krishna, and Krishna loves him so much. Why would I get so mad at him? The kid's just using Krishna as a part of his ego. This is "Blessed Krishna, the authority has left us, and now these upstarts have come to power." It's quite a disgusting insult on the king. He calls the king an upstart who's only come to power after Krishna left. It's very quite the opposite of what's true. This emperor is blessed by Krishna. Anyway, "I will punish him myself," the boy says. I'm not even going to I'm not going to make my father or any of you people punish him. I'm going to punish him myself. Just see my power. Just see how even a boy, even a child of the Brahmins, can destroy a warrior who's even the emperor. Now I'll show you why the emperor and the kings should respect us under all conditions. So he went to the river Koshka and touched the water with his eyes aflame with indignation, and threw forth this verbal thunderbolt: "For this transgression against my father, in 7 days the dragon Takra will bite that king, who is nothing but a stain upon his family." So he pronounced that curse. Don't curse people. curse, even though you're living in Kali Yuga and you don't have any significant mystic power, remember what the Parikshit liked about Kali was that little things have big effect. To pronounce a curse on somebody still has the effect of instigating your hatred towards them. I really recommend against cursing people. Number one, it's ineffective, and number two, it's just disgusting. So this boy is not being presented as a hero. He's being presented as a fool. So now watch how he's going to get berated. So now the scene is going to change a little bit. Now the boy's going to come home after pronouncing this curse. So he returns home to his ashram, and the boy saw his father was still sitting there in meditation, and the snake was still around his neck. And when the boy saw that, he broke down and started crying. The crying of the boy caused the guy to come out of his meditation. This is instructive. This is instructive to all of the people, so-called spiritually advanced, blah, blah, blah people who think that family is unimportant. What a joke. How antithetical to Vedic culture it is. The sage could not be taken out of meditation, even from the emperor, even from being physically shaken, and from having a dead snake put around his shoulders. The guy did not break his concentration. But as soon as he heard his own son crying, he stopped meditating. He became alert. And this is a great sage, a descendant of Angirasa. Angirasa is one of the sages in charge of one of the branches of the Vedas, and an incarnation of Shiva, or an empowered whatever from Shiva. So this is not an example of something you shouldn't do. This is an example of something you should do. So he gradually became conscious of his son's crying and opened his eyes and saw the horrible dead thing on his shoulders. I mean, he opened his eyes. He starts to hear his son crying. That's one thing that his consciousness is attuned to pick up, because it's his responsibility as a father. Hello. The sage is hello. I mean, do you guys know why I'm saying hello? Because all of the so-called spiritual people completely undervalue their responsibility as a father. And that infects the women too, and they disrespect their responsibility as a mother. And all you guys want to talk about is the responsibility of the child to be a child to you, who are not even acting as the parents, basically. So it's just so complicated and disgusting how people get the spiritual values mixed up. The sage, he was attuned to listen to his son, even in his meditation, even when he was beyond the third level of consciousness. Because he's a father. Why are you trying to deny that? Why? So he gradually came out of his meditation because of his son's crying. And when he came out, the first thing we saw, he's got this big dead snake on his shoulder. So what did he do? Ah! That's probably what I would do. But what he did was, oh, what the heck is this? He simply cast it aside. He just took the snake off him. He didn't think like, what the heck? Who put this on me? What is this? He just was like, oh, there's a dead snake on my shoulder. Oh. He didn't care. And then he asked the son, my dear son, what are you crying about? Has someone harmed you? Are you okay? And in answer, the boy told the father everything that had happened. The sage was not at all pleased. As his son was telling him what has happened, he got more and more unhappy, and he said, oh, alas, today you have done a very terrible thing. So he tells the boy, you were bad. You were bad. The king, I'm not mad at the king. I'm mad at you. You were bad. You dealt a very severe punishment for an insignificant mistake. You killed somebody. You pronounced a death curse. He's going to get bitten by a dragon, poisonous dragon. You essentially killed somebody for insulting somebody. That's not a commensurate punishment. What you've done is very, very immoral. You inflicted a very severe punishment for an insignificant mistake. The bigger the mistake, the bigger the punishment. Your intellect is still immature, so you've forgotten that a king is a god amongst men. You're treating this guy like he's inferior to us, blah blah blah. He's a god among men because he's the king. He should never be treated like an ordinary man. By his power, everyone is safe and prosperous. He protects everybody. So if you want to be respected, then what you need to do is protect people. If you protect people, people will respect you by instinct. Not because somebody tells them to, or you get a fan club, or you lie enough that you convince people that they should respect you. But by their very survival instinct, they will respect you if you protect them. If you take good care of people, then you will be respected. But if you sit there and demand respect, you're only going to be frustrated. So the kings, they deserve great amount of deference and respect because they take care of thousands and thousands of people and they protect them from dangerous animals, from barbarians, from vandals. Now he's saying to his son, now look who you have just killed. You killed the guy who's protecting all these other people. What's going to happen when he dies? All these people are going to be unprotected, including us. You have forgotten that the kings represent God, and as soon as they are destroyed, thieves immediately flourish and devour the innocent masses like lambs. You've brought calamity upon the human race. From today, this is when Kali Yuga. This is another milestone of the beginning of Kali Yuga, is when the Brahmanas start to make mistakes. And the first time in Kali Yuga that the Brahmana did something very inappropriate was this child. And so his father says, from today, people will begin killing each other. Just like you killed him over an insult, this is where it starts. From today, people will begin killing one another over money. They will begin stealing from one another, and terrible harm will come to the masses because this king is gone. So the king controls taxes and takes care of it, makes sure people are given welfare and all that stuff, so people don't have to steal. This is another thing that America just cannot comprehend. How socialism is important. Capitalism cannot comprehend this. How capitalism leads to crime. Because people become poor at the expense of others who become rich, and the poor people resort to crime because they have no choice. So what a king does is he ensures that there's no poor people. And if he needs to take money from rich people to do it, he does it. And if the rich people complain, they get a slap. Because he's the king. So this is one of the things that a king does, is it prevents crime by making sure that nobody is in dire need. Like the king was in dire need and hunger and thirst, and that's how he did something wrong. So the second thing he does is he prevents them from stealing one another, harming one another. Now that he's going to be dead, terrible harm will come to the masses, especially the innocent people, to the women and the animals. As a result, moral creature based on wisdom will fall apart. Uncivilized humans will live like monkeys and dogs, completely enwrapped in lusts and the pursuit of money. Hello, welcome to 2020. Uncivilized humans living like monkeys and dogs, completely enwrapped in lusts and the pursuit of money and of transmission. All kings protect morality. So he's saying basically, oh, you just opened the gates for Kali to come in. And because of your behavior now, that's going to get replicated and enhanced. You know, behavior, karma generates echoes of itself. Your behavior is going to get ingrained into the imprint of how behavior can be done, and then people are going to start acting like this. It's the end of the good times. It's the end of Dwapara Yuga. All kings protect morality, but this emperor in particular, like all kings, you shouldn't have done this to any king, but this guy in particular is celebrated as an exalted devotee of the all-attractive. He's a sage. You're treating him like a king, but actually he's a sage acting as a king, you fool. He's a sage among kings. He's a performer of sacrifice. When he is stricken by hunger, thirst, and exhaustion, we have no right to curse him. Since his son had wronged a faultless person whom he should protect, the sage prayed to the all-attractive supersoul to forgive this crime on the plea that he was just an immature boy. This is an interesting loophole of law. It's not exactly a loop, but that if you're like you plead insanity when you commit a crime, you can plead insanity, or also crimes committed by people that are under a certain age are not punished as severely. So when the free will, when the will and everything and cognition isn't as completely developed, then the punishment shouldn't be as severe. So the sage requested the super soul not to hold his son too accountable for this, since he was just a boy and kids make mistakes. This also should inform you on how seriously you should punish your kids. Not very seriously. The sage knew that the king would not try to counteract or avenge the curse. This is interesting. So if the king is so great and everything, then what's the big deal? He can, if he's also a sage, like if he's a philosopher king, then he's also a sage like us, so that he could counteract our curse. But the sage knew that he wouldn't, because he takes everything that comes and tries to do the best with it. He's a bee, not a fly. The sage knew that the king would not try to avenge, to combat, or definitely wouldn't try to avenge the curse, and he wouldn't even try to counteract it. Why? Because he was a devotee of Bhakta. He was a devotee of Bhagavan. And they never combat any personal defamation. This is amazing. This is an amazing mark of an actual Bhakta. You'll be able to tell the extent to which a person is a real Bhakta, a real lover of Bhagavan. The extent to which they react to personal insult is the inverse of the extent to which they actually are Bhagavad Bhaktas. Nor did the sage even think twice about the so-called insult from the king. So this sage himself is very, very advanced in that scale. He didn't even give one thought to feeling insulted by what the king did. He didn't even think, oh, well, maybe this guy deserved it. Look what he did to me. The saintly are never distressed or thrilled when others cast them into worldly dualities like honor and dishonor, because they've taken shelter of the infinite. So that's the story for today. In the next story, which is the last chapter of the first part of the Bhagavatam, you'll hear how this curse plays out and how it leads to the Bhagavatam being spoken, being narrated. Parikshit's because as a result of this curse, Parikshit's gonna learn Bhagavatam directly from Shukadeva, who learned it from his father, who wrote it. Any questions about this story? It's exciting stuff, right? KY, what's KY? Bardo is not into monarchy. Obviously, the Bhagavatam is into monarchy. But the Bhagavatam's monarchy is, these kings are people that take care of other people. It's not the monarchy of Kali Yuga. The monarchy of Kali Yuga is absolutely useless. Unfortunately, no type of government actually works in Kali Yuga. So probably the most realistic government for Kali Yuga is a kind of democratic socialism. Because basically Kali Yuga is a Shudra age. So Shudras should be in charge. But actually at the present, Shudras are not in charge. At the present, the masses of the workers are not in charge. It's actually the Vaishyas who are in charge, the capitalists. And that's quite problematic. Eminent. So the slight movement of the balanced state of mind to either side is the starting point of negativity. Yeah. What are the other signs of Kali Yuga beginning? Brahmins making mistakes. We heard all about that 1 or 2 sessions ago. So go back in my videos and find the one where it's called Omens of Kali, and you'll see mostly the primary sign of Kali Yuga's power is argument. That people and hatred. People dislike each other. And so you find that there's more war between nations, and there's actually war more often between friends. And it even goes to infect the family relationships. You get more hatred inside of families, and it even infects the husband-wife relationship. So you'll find that one of the key marks of Kali Yuga is domestic arguments and domestic violence. Ayush says, you said about not being affected by personal attacks, but that could also be the case with the low esteemed person. Cold-blooded future criminals. No, not really. Those people are very obsessed with how they were mistreated. They can't get over it, and that's why they want to vent or get back or get revenge or get justice in a vigilante way. Remember, okay, let me think about this. Remember that the sage came out of his meditation for his son. Remember that part. So you have responsibilities, and for the sake of those responsibilities, you need a certain amount of power to be able to fulfill them. For example, if you've got kids, you need to feed them. So you need to be able to have food, and for that you need some money. So you need a certain amount of power and respect that you can't give up. But it's not based on you not wanting to be insulted or you wanting to be praised or something that you get that money. It's based on you wanting to fulfill your duties to the people that you're responsible to. So it is not good to let people mistreat you. Mistreatment means people who act in a way that deprives you of the things that you need to take care of your duties. This is not saying let people mistreat you. This is saying you won't feel emotionally troubled by mistreatment. It doesn't mean that you'll just let it be and let it go. All right, guys. We'll see you. We'll see you again tomorrow. We'll hear about when we got one more. Yeah, exactly, Bardo. This is the thing. Like I said, like the boy exhibited this behavior where he used Krishna as part of his way to insult Krishna's devotee, right? So you'll also find people will say, "I am the king. I am a Brahmin. I am your husband. So you cannot. You have no right to criticize me." But but that's the same deal. It's just like you're not actually acting as a protector. Therefore, you're getting criticized, and then you're claiming that you're a protector. Why should we let that work? Like I said, it would be reflexive. It would be reflexive and undeniable. When you actually protect other people, you reflexively, instinctually get respect from them. Okay. See you all later. Thanks, everybody. This was fun.